Today we will talk about R. Kelly drama. Singer R. Kelly has been found guilty of exploiting his superstar status to run a shame to sexually abuse women and children over 2 decades. 11 accusers, 9 women and 2 men, took the stand over the searing 6-week trial to describe sexual humiliation and violence at his hands. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury found the U.S. star guilty on all 9 charges he was facing. Sentencing is due on 4 May 2022, and he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. The jury found Kelly, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, was the ringleader of violent and coercive shame that lured women and children for him to sexually abuse. The singer, famous for the hit songs I Believe I Can Fly and In the Ocean remix, was also found to have trafficked women between different US states. Along with 8 counts of sex trafficking, Kelly was found guilty of racketeering, a charge normally used against organized crime association. During the trial, prosecutors detailed how his manager, security guards, and other entourage members worked to assist him in his criminal enterprise. The court also heard how Kelly had illegally obtained paperwork to marry Aaliyah when she was 15 in 1994, 7 years before the singer died in a plane crash. The verdict comes 13 years after Kelly was acquitted of child pornography charges after a trial in the state of Illinois. So here are the author of these 2 articles is Troy Clausen, where they were published in the New York Times on September 27th, 2021. Here we have to do with a great magazine which aims the international, since the articles of the newspaper are translated and taken again by several newspapers of other countries. The French daily Le Figaro publishes every week a selection of articles from the New York Times in French version. So this article is much more formal than the others, a little more neutral, if I may say so. It shows a little bit more of its position, but if you analyze it, it is still obvious. In this article, the title, Hercules got angry if women broke his rules. Ex-assistant says, here we have a poignant quote from the start. The fact that we start directly like that is a way to put the readers in the bath and to already point the fingers at the singer just with this testimony. Just with this sentence, we can already identify the behavior of the accused, and directly we will already tend to lean on the side of the victims, and that is the purpose of this title. To make it a title with a quotation of a witness and victim, moreover, that gives a much more personal side to the things, and real testimonies corroborates more the reality that any catchphrase said or written by a journalist. It creates compassion in the reader, and that is undeniable. This title, is short but effective. We are dealing here with content that is more emotional than argumentative. As I said before, the journalist here with this title seeks to touch the reader, feel the compassion for the victim. This funny thing that on the same day, the same author has written a second article where it has a totally different approach, in the sense that the title is Hercules is convicted of all counts after decades of accusation of abuse. But it's true that in this sentence there was just the word finally missing, in the sense that after decades of accusation, he was finally convicted. It takes away a bit of neutrality in my opinion, because you can feel in the sentence that the author of this one was a bit jaded that this case took so long. And therefore, that finally justice was done. And the key point here is that finally the singer has been judged, and therefore he was finally served his sentence. I think that these two articles are complementary. Indeed, for me, the only thing that differs greatly in the substance of the form of the comments, because in the sense that there is the one on the left which really aims to get into the facts, to take sides and to put forward arguments, and so that the readers also take side with the victims. And there is the other article that adopts a much more formal tone, and it stays a little bit out of the way while using strong words in the turn of this sentence. And I think it's a good idea to the reporter to have done these two articles. First, I think it is interesting to read the one on the right to see the main information of the things, and that is the fact that the musician is condemned for all accusations against him. And then reading the second article is wise to have more elements and more details on the case. So for the first article, this one comes from the Guardian magazine. So we have a picture of the musician with sunglasses, well dressed, and a rather relaxed face. He doesn't look too worried on this picture. It reflects well his image of pop star, surrounded by paparazzi, escorted by his bodyguard, riding in a big car. So, for the moment, just by seeing this picture, everything looks normal considering his superstar statue, but the problem is that in view of the context, it seems to be out of court if we link the context and his attire. And in this headline, you can feel the joy because the writer didn't hold back with his word, with his title, Hercule Verdict Caps Decades of Abuse that predominantly targeted Black women and children. And we can directly add the caption that says that, quote, heard Kelly used fame and power to subject his victim to sexual and physical abuse. So it's obvious this article is far from being neutral. One feels joy when you're reading this. And from the turn of the sentence, it is as if finally, like the king has been overthrown after decades of terror. It is quite long content that show that a picture of the stars in a very good position, maybe even quite sure of himself, but who has finally condensed, although he is a superstar star with has a lot of money, a lot of fans, a lot of notoriety and power, and the article shows that this is the end of his reign and that they are quite happy about it. One could think that the choice of the photo is totally contradictory with the text, but I think not. It's a way of not arousing any piety in the reader and to show a man who inspires power by depicting him as a watchdog who preys mainly on Black women and children. And this is mentioned in this article on purpose to show how disgusting it is, but also to show that although it took a long time, the singer was finally judged, and that the money is not everything. The fact that the editors of this article mentioned the fact that the singers was attacking a lot of people in a very small way, target the audience, and extending even more in the sense that it mentions women and children, mainly Afro-American. So I think women are angry, mother mainly for the protection of their children, but also the Afro-American community that surely adore him and what he represented. On the other hand, here we have a cover photo from the New York Daily News magazine. The content is visual because it transmits something strong with the photo of the musician, who literally takes 5/6 of the cover. A photo where he is not coiffed with an unkempt beard either, and no bling bling. Is in prison garb, looking down at the ground, puckering his lips like he was anxious or stressed, and his looks dejected, lost and completely helpless in the face of the situations in front of him. It is rather heavy contempt, if I may say so, in the sense that we have a photo of the protagonist with a big title, "Rot in Jail," in capital letters and in gray character, and in a small caption under this big title. So I think it is a pretty long contempt anyway. This media story is leaning more of the Republican side, I think. According to a journalist called Fur, the paper is not for speaking to and for the city's working class and for its crusades against municipal misconduct. And I totally agree in the sense that this artist is very well known internationally and that it's undeniable, but is mostly known in Afro-American circles to begin with, from working class backgrounds generally. And above all, the term "rot" means everything. Just with this term, the magazine loses all its neutrality, and one can see a form of satisfaction in this. In any case, if it was me who had said the sentence "rot in jail," I would be very happy that it happened, and I would say that myself that justice has done its job well. I think there is no question about the fact that the size is taken for the victim and therefore against the musician. Indeed, the photo of his face was taken in profile when he was in orange prison uniform during his trial. And the fact that his face was taken from the side for me is not by chance. It reminds me of the identity photo of prisoners with the sign in their hands containing their information. And when you see this content, you feel a certain anger toward the musician. So I think this article is more an emotional article than an argumentative article. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys like it. Bye.